Tokusatsu, taking the form of many shows including Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, and Metal Heroes. And today, a group of fans come together to review it for you as Toku Secrets.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Toku Secrets podcast presented by AnimeSecrets.org. I'm your host, Nathan Desa, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we are beginning another journey. You followed us as we took a journey many years ago across the rainbow line with the Tokyugers. A couple of years later, you followed us as we went on a treasure hunt with the Gokaigers. You followed us as we took a journey of a samurai, along with us taking a very ill-advised detour through the many Kamen Rider worlds with Decade. We still regret that.
Yeah.
You followed us when we were Jetmen, and today we are becoming students of Juken. What is Juken, you may ask? Well, you're going to find that out through this next Toku series that we are reviewing, Juken Sentai Gekiranger. We have the whole crew here again. I am your host. I call myself Geki Silver. I guess I'm going to wield Panther Fist. I don't know. Maybe I'll just go with the wolf, even though there is going to be a wolf. But yeah, I call myself Geki Silver. I'll let the rest of the crew announce themselves. Go ahead, guys.
Hey, I'm Patrick, and I'm still Shinken Red.
Yep.
Hey, I'm Rizwan, and I'm reverting back to Gokai Red.
Cool.
I'm Anthony, also known as Kyoryu Green number 3, because 2 has already been taken, and so has 1. So yeah.
I don't want to be just the only guy going with Geki. I'm just going to call myself Boken Silver.
There you go.
I mean, I'll probably find like another like Geki color to go along with it. So I just didn't feel like doing it today because I'm just too tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a quick note to our audience, we are recording this at midnight for me and 1:00 in the morning for these guys. But don't let that deter you, because we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight.
So today we are reviewing Gekiranger episodes 1 through 11. We're only including 11 because it's a two-parter with episode 10. So let's jump in. A little bit of an introduction to Gekiranger. There's not as much big, firsts with this one, unlike Jetman. Juken Sentai Gekiranger translates to Beast Fist Sentai, Fierce Spirit Ranger. It was the 31st season of Super Sentai, airing from February 2007 to February 2008. It features a kung fu theme with a wildcat and animal motif. It was adapted into Power Rangers Jungle Fury. So for the very first time, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually reviewing a Sentai where I think we all collectively like Jungle Fury here on Toku Secrets.
Yes.
So for the very first time, we are reviewing a Sentai that was adapted into a Power Ranger season that we like. Because, we love Gokaiger, well, most of us anyway, looking at you, Patrick. We hate Super Mega Force, and we all love Shinkenger, but we hate Power Ranger Samurai. I don't think we're gonna. So it'll be a very interesting journey to have. The head writer for this Sentai was Michiko Yokote. She previously was an assistant writer with Deca Ranger and Maji Ranger, and she would also be the head writer of Go Sager. That's not good. Most people know Go Sager is my least favorite Sentai.
Yeah.
Much like Shinkenger, this Sentai does give different names for its episodes. They're called lessons, and every title features weird gibberish in the title, reflecting the weird language and the primitive upbringing of our main character, Geki Red. So,
whenever I'm watching like the TV Nihon subs, they says training for mine.
All right, so let's jump in. So our first lesson is called Nikki, Fierce Beast Fist. Nikki is one of the things that Geki Red says frequently. So we are introduced to our main characters of this seat here. Here is the list of characters that we have. John Kondo, Geki Red, who wields the Tiger Fist. He's a, I'll tell you more about him when we get there. Ron Uzaki, Geki Yellow, she's a Cheetah Fist wielder. Retsu Fukami, Geki Blue, Jaguar Fist. Our supporting characters include Master Shafu, who's a mentor of the Geki Rangers. He's a Fist Sage. He actually he kind of fills RJ's role, but technically his counterpart is Master Mao. Because spoiler alert here, guys, you might remember in Jungle Fury, at the very last episode, all of the Pai Schwa masters took on these animal forms. Well, in Geki Ranger, those are their natural forms that they're going to be in throughout the entire series. They don't have human forms. So Master Shafu is the cat fist sage. We have Miki Masaki. She is a leopard fist user, although she's retired, and she's a high executive of a sporting goods company called Scratch, which they sell sporting goods, and they also help support the Geki Rangers, which is actually important, and we'll talk about that in a second. And to round it up, we have our two main villains, Rio, who is a Lion Fist wielder. He's the main villain of the series. And Melee, who is a Juken beast with a human form. She loyally serves Rio, and we'll find out more in one of the episodes. At the beginning, so one of the cool things about this Sentai is that at the beginning of every episode, with the opening theme, the basic plot is explained. So I'll try to explain this as best I can. But so Juken is a form of kung fu that mimics the movements and abilities of animals, and this allows them to achieve spiritual peace and manipulate ki energy in the form of animals. Juken is split into two different schools. Geki Juken Beast Arts. This is the school that the Geki Rangers follow. It's a school for justice and peace and discipline. And then we have the Rinjuken Beast Hall, which believes in the superiority of Juken and wants prioritizes strength and power over everything and wants to take over the world. And those are our main villains. So effectively, the best way to kind of explain this in a nutshell is this is like Jedi versus Sith in Star Wars, except instead of people using the Force and lightsabers, it's people fighting with kung fu and animal energy. That's the best way to describe it. Wouldn't you guys agree?
I never really thought of it that way, but that's actually a really good description.
Well, the way that's how you explained to me earlier when we were chatting before the podcast, and yeah, I have to agree with you. That's super accurate, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Now the ultimate question is, does the high ground help here too?
We'll find out at the finale, right?
Lord. Probably. Speaking of the Geki Rangers theme song, real quick, what do we think of the Geki Rangers theme song?
It's catchy.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's one of those that it gets stuck in your head and you can't get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely like it. It's not like top tier Sentai opening theme, but it's definitely good, right? Like,
Yeah. I wouldn't say that it's on par with Shin. It's not as good as Shinkinger's theme song, but I put it in maybe my top 15.
Yeah.
Oh, and also fun fact: some of the scenes that were in the opening theme song was actually filmed in New Zealand.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
where Power Rangers was also filmed too.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Like the shots of them fighting in in the open areas and like outside. I think that was filmed in New Zealand.
Oh, that makes
well,
sense. Yeah.
okay, so let me throw in some production stuff. I think this is all accurate, and if it's not, please correct me in the comments, audience. But I believe this is the season that's the first time that they have the Japanese crew and the American crew both in New Zealand at the same time using the same sets and the same props.
That's possible.
It's possible.
I read that somewhere recently, but I haven't been able to substantiate it beyond that claim I read somewhere on Reddit or something.
I don't know if
So,
entirely, but there definitely could have been some overlap. I
no, I
can't.
mean, they had
Yeah.
some overlap. Like, I think they had the sets built for one thing, and then the Americans might have used it after the Japanese were done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they weren't filmed at the same time. I think they're just filmed in the same places, which is why it's easier to integrate stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, the plot of our first lesson is that Jan Kondo is found by Mickey when she's trying to deliver these bracelets to Master Shafu. The bracelets unfortunately get stolen, and they play a big part later on. So remember the thing about the bracelets, guys. And she discovers that he has Juken in him when he is able to roar like a tiger to help fight off a monster that attacks her. So he gets recruited by the Scratch Company to join training for Juken. He joins up with two other students, Ron and Retsu, and they have to come together as it's revealed that the Rinjuken Hall, led by Rio, is preparing its revival with a full-scale invasion. So that's pretty much the episode. It plays out pretty similar to the Jungle Fury episode. Like, literally the first henshin is pretty much the same as the Jungle Fury morph. Red and blue morph together, and then red is all like, like it's not working.
Because he's doing it wrong.
Speaking of the changers, by the way, this is something I want to briefly bring up. In Jungle Fury, the solar morphers, the sunglasses, those are actually original. Here in Gekiranger, they have these gloves on them that they used to change, and you actually see the gloves because they're part of the ranger suit. I would. What do we think? What do you guys think of the Geki changers compared to the solar morphers?
They're so much better. I always hated the idea of sunglasses because they didn't even fit with the theme of Jungle Fury.
It didn't. It was weird. I think the only reason they did that because they didn't want it was like a hazard thing. They were like, oh, we don't want kids to be like just around punching people with the gauntlets or whatever. I'm just like, that's stupid though, but whatever.
Honestly, I like both a lot. I'm actually a big fan of the sunglasses, not because of the cool factor, but it's a nice utility to have all their communications in the sunglasses, like with an earpiece or something.
Yeah.
And it gives
I never
them.
mind of the solar morphers.
Hmm?
I never mind of the solar morphers either.
Yeah, I
They're okay.
definitely love the solar morphers a lot. But I like the simplicity of these gauntlets or gloves or whatever you want to call them. Like that's just it's clean.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of both.
What do we think of the Gekiranger suits while we're at it? You guys can go first.
You
Go
go
ahead, Pat.
first. Okay.
No, you go first.
The first time I saw them back when I watched Jungle Fury for the first time, they really bothered me because they didn't have a belt. I think they're the only Ranger suits to not have a belt, and it drove me crazy. But over the years, they've grown on me a lot.
I never worried about the belt. I like the suit because it's a very simple suit. It's it's not gaudy, it's not like some of the other suits in the franchise that I just don't like. Especially compared to the other animal Sentai themes that we've had. This is my favorite one of those even. The next best of them would probably be I think Zeodes over Gaorain's there for me.
I can see that.
The one thing I
because
do
Power
like,
Rangers is ugly as sin to me. I don't know.
the one thing I do like is that the whole time I watched Jungle Fever, I was like, why does this stuff look like athletic gear? And then lo and behold, the Sentai, they basically work for Nike.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
So it all makes sense.
It makes so much sense watching the Sentai.
Yeah,
So
no.
for the listeners back home, just FYI, I think I'm the only one of the four of us that spent the week prior to us starting Gekiranger binging all of Jungle Fury. And immediately when the finale of Jungle Fury ended, I began episode 1 of Gekiranger. So this all
oh
fresh in
wow.
my mind, and as I'm watching Gekiranger, I'm filling in the gaps of, oh, this is why this happened in Rangers. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
I think lack of a belt works because, like, they're fighting. They want to do kung fu, and you want to have a suit that like fits their fighting
Yeah.
style. So they wouldn't want to
Yeah.
be constrained by a belt.
Mm-hmm. Because
Exactly.
they have no use for like a holster or anything, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, except one, but we'll get to him later.
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I think these suits are top 10 for me actually.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I've gone on over all the major details that have happened with the first lesson. What do we think of this opening episode? With how they establish the characters. Like, do we think that do we think that it establishes the main characters good and like the motivations? I personally think that it does a good job at establishing. I think they do a good job with establishing John and Rio because we don't see much with Rio, but we do see like flashes of a flashback with his past that's going to be very predominant throughout this series. So I think it's pretty good. I don't think that they do as great of a job at establishing Retsu and Ron as characters, though. But what do you guys think?
So I'm gonna go first just to make a comment that might help somebody down the line. So we made a grave error when we first watched the episode 1 of Gekiranger. We chose a subtitle group because Gekiranger's not officially been released by South Factory yet. It will be at some point, but just not yet. And the subtitle group that we used originally, they did a terrible job subbing the episodes. They made
Mm-hmm.
John sound like an even bigger idiot than he will be later. Spoilers, by the way. And honestly, the subtitles were so bad and so offensive to me that I nearly threw in the towel at episode 1 and was about to tell these guys either we do a different Sentai or I'm setting out this review series because I couldn't stand it. But then a very nice person mentioned to me that the TV Nihon subtitles are superior in every way. So I said, okay, fine. I'm going to watch the first episode subbed of TV Nihon and I'm going to see what I think. And honestly, it changed everything for me. Like, I don't know if y'all watched both versions or not, but I did, and oh my god, it's night and day difference.
Dude,
Absolutely.
I
Like,
could not watch the first episode on YouTube because like they had their own subs for it or whatever.
yeah,
And the first thing that you read from John is baddie baddie. I'm like, what am I reading right now? A
no, like
baddie baddie?
he keeps saying baddie baddie, he keeps saying nicey nicey, and I'm like, dude, we're not 5-year-olds. This is not a well, maybe it's made for 5-year-olds in Japan, but no, it's made for us. Screw them. um, but no, like this was just degrading to watch in that way, and I hated every second of it. Um, but watching so getting back to the point of the actual pilot, not counting this translation errors we had, this isn't like a very strong opening. Um, it gives a decent foundation. We get a decent idea who Zahn is, and I have opinions on him that we'll get into later. But um, it definitely sets the stage for what we're gonna get. I agree with Nate. Ron and Retsu get nothing in this episode, and it kind of bugged me a little bit. But also, I get it because oftentimes I'll complain about seasons where they introduce all 5 at the same time and then nobody really gets, like, focus. But here, we get up close and personal with John real quick, and we get to learn more about the other cast as we move through the series. So, I think pacing-wise, it was good. It didn't feel as strong as it could have, though, and, I don't know what they could have done differently to help it, but it just felt like it was missing something that could have made it better, and I don't know. What do y'all think?
So this episode kind of brings up an issue that I've had with some of the more modern Sentai, and it's that they rush the start of the season so much. Because this really should have been 2 episodes.
Yep.
Just to really, because I felt like they encountered Rand too quick, and then brought him in, and then he got integrated like almost immediately. It was just too fast.
Yeah, I think one thing I didn't like was they definitely brought him in way too quick, but he's basically a jungle boy. Like, I don't know if we really mentioned this, but he's Tarzan. He lives in the jungle. He grew up in the jungle. All his friends are the pandas. Like, he's in the first scene. Homeboy's literally wrestling with pandas.
As if it was a casual thing.
Like a casual Tuesday, no big deal, right? Like, um, he's not supposed to understand modern technology. He's not supposed to understand human anything. Like, the mere fact that he can speak the Japanese language and communicate to them, that's a huge thing already.
Yeah.
And he has his own, like, really bad slang that we'll get into later. But if he's literally just jumping out of a forest and all that, I don't think he should be acclimating to being a Sentai Ranger that quickly.
Well, it's more like they just gave him the gauntlets and a uniform like immediately. Shouldn't sing
Here you go.
Like what?
especially because the next few episodes, it's all about training him to get on the levels of the others. Why didn't he go through like a mini training session before he got his Gekiranger gear?
Yeah.
Well, the same thing did happen in Jungle Fury, mind you.
True, but Casey was already pretty well versed in the
He had
order.
a week's worth of training.
Yeah,
Well,
like
okay. So Casey's training in Jungle Fury at the point that he was at when he and Jared had the tiff in the beginning, he was just a towel boy. He didn't really. The first time he used his animal spirit was right then and there when he and Jared went at it. So
yeah, but the
so
point I'm
he
trying to
had an
make is
understanding of
yeah,
animal spirits, but he wasn't well practiced in it.
yeah, but at least he had that foundation. That's kind of where
Yeah.
I'm going. That Rand doesn't, and they just threw him in there anyway. Like
So
if they had the other two go in there to showcase what they did, and then had him go through a training sequence and then show up late and then makes like his grand entrance as Red, then I don't know.
yeah, I think so. I don't want to spend a lot of time comparing Jungle Fury to Gekiranger here, but I think it's very important to note Jungle Fury's pilot first 2 episodes is a two-parter, and
Mhm.
it was a really strong pilot to the season. Like, we had the basic idea of Dicey and the Paiswa Academy. We had the idea of these guys being the guardians to prevent Dicey from coming back. And oh look, Dicey came back. Spoilers, that's great, right? And it's them trying to deal with the fact that, oh, well, I guess we should probably do something about that. And they kind of ease into it. Like they spend time to find her mentor. The mentor toys around him a little bit, then he helps them. But here, it's so rushed. I agree with you, Pat. Like that was a huge problem for me.
Yeah.
And it's not just this one that did that. Like there's other Sentai that I've watched, and things are rushed really quickly, and it just bugs me sometimes.
And it's a problem with more modern Sentai because Jetman didn't have that issue. Zoo Ranger, for as much as I hate it, its opening arc was like 6 episodes. It started off at really well paced, but then you look at like Shinkenger, where they introduce Shinkano like episode 1. Like, let us sit on him for a while.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, the same thing is true for what is it, Gekiranger? That had a pretty good, decent entry with like, I think it was a 2-parter if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember exactly, but
it was like 4 episodes revolving around them all coming together as a team.
Yeah,
there you go. I remember it was like something more drawn out. They didn't get to mech until like episode 5 or something.
Yeah, I love when Sentai's try to draw the opening arc out like 5 episodes instead of how they do it now, where they try to jam everything into like 1 or 2 episodes.
And that was that was one of my complaints to the Zenkaiser opening. Like Anthony is the only one here that's seen it, I think.
Yep.
But that was super rushed as well. Like the way that they just introduced the world, introduced the idea of the different worlds that they can go to, and then all of a sudden, oh hey, look, you're all going to become a Sentai. Like it was kind of haphazardly put together, but it did improve after that. But yeah, sometimes I think Sentai writers don't know what they're doing with the opening.
I think Toku Ranger probably had the best handling because, like, Ninja White is already a Ranger, and then Ninja Red and Ninja Blue join her, and then over like maybe the next like 2 or 3 episodes, we meet Ninja Yellow and Ninja Black.
Yeah, and then like Muteki Shogun didn't show up until like episode 6.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, same with Daijujin and Zoo Ranger. Like they the mechas took forever to show up, and I actually liked that.
Even Jetman didn't come immediately.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't know why modern Sentai want to rush things.
Show off the toys.
Yeah, show off the new toy as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Merchandising.
Yeah.
But Anthony and Nate, I want to hear your thoughts on the pilot, given y'all have seen this before.
Yes.
I mean, I just give mine. I think it establishes. I really like how it establishes Rio and John, but to me, a pilot. The one thing that matters in a pilot episode to me is if it can establish the characters of all the Rangers. Which is why I like. Like I think Lost Galaxy's pilot episode is great because it establishes the personalities of all the main 5 Rangers, and I think the Jungle Fury episode does a good job at that. Well. It doesn't do a good job at establishing Retsu and Ron, so that's my major gripe with it.
Honestly, and it's probably a spoiler for the rest of our discussions, but I didn't get a good feel for Retsu until whatever his character-focused episode was. It was like 6 or 7, I think.
Yeah.
I did not get a good understanding of his character until then. And it shouldn't have taken that long. Ron, I got a better reading of quicker than that. But that's also helped a little bit by her own focus that she got earlier on.
Yeah.
What about you, Anthony? What do you think of this first episode?
I mean, I pretty much like. I feel the same as you guys do. Like, there's not enough development between the other 2 Gekirangers and.
You're a little muffled, man.
Oh, sorry. How I said. Okay. Sorry about that. I feel the way you guys feel about it. Like the 2 Gekirangers did not get as much focus in the first episode. I still have my little annoyance about John and how he's very he can be very annoying at times. I'm just like, why I understand the story of why he is the way he is, but like it's just he can be frustrating sometimes. I'm just like just want to just choke him like shut up, you like you stop doing things that are necessary.
Yeah, I think John's gonna get the preliminary Riz title of hot garbage for the moment.
And not hot garbage because he's a bad character. He's hot garbage because he's annoying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
What will we give this pilot out of 10? I personally give it a 7.
5.
I'm
Yeah.
going with a 5.
Anthony?
I'm gonna give it a 7 too.
Okay.
So we're averaging a 6.
If you guys want to add anything, or do we want to move on to the next one?
I just like the
Onward.
fact. I mean, one second.
Go for it.
Yeah,
I
one more
love the
thing.
fact. I love the fact that the side character Mickey can just like is like able to actually proficient in fighting in the art, because like normally you don't get characters who like side characters that can fight, that in shows it nowadays. But like that's pretty interesting that she can fight.
Yeah.
I will make one more comment. I just noticed the episode titles all revolve around having a John catchphrase in the title.
Yeah.
Hey, don't you?
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not too happy. I'll put it that way for the moment.
I know, and I know we didn't bring up Master Shafu, but there's a certain characteristic trait, or not a characteristic trait, but there's something about him that's constantly distracting me. His stupid tiny little paws. I cannot take this guy seriously.
Dude, I thought I was the only one. I was like, his paws are so annoying. Like, why do you, who thought this was a good idea to give like those tiny paws?
I've noticed a problem with the Japanese Sentai when it comes to this. They do a really bad job with the animal type characters at this era of Sentai. Look at Doggy Kruger in the Sentai versus Doggy Kruger in America. And I mean, it's just night and day difference in how they do them. But in this case, they yoinked the suits from here into the American footage for Jungle Fury. So you get what you get. But
didn't the Jew-men from Jew Oger look better?
Yeah, they're not as bad.
They do look a lot better.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. I probably prefer their design.
No, I think it's just the era that we're talking about right now. Back in that 2007, 2008 timeline.
The 2005 era. Yeah, 2005 era.
Yeah, it's just a quality difference in production, and I'm willing to overlook it.
So am I, but it's hilariously distracting when he's on screen.
I don't get that impression, honestly. I have not noticed that.
And for people who want to kind of give context for like what Patrick is saying, like this scene in the Jungle Fury finale, and I love the Jungle Fury finale. It is a great finale, even though it is only one part. That scene where the Paichwa Masters take on their animal form, and then Master Mao says something like, "Farewell, hideous beast," and he like waves with that tiny paw. That was unintentionally hilarious. Well, imagine that whole thing this entire show.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You got this serious master, and he's got this comedically small hand all the time.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
All right, let's move on to the second lesson. Waki Waki Beast Fist combination. So in this episode, we get the debut of our main robo, Geki Toja. Pretty much this entire episode is about Retsu and Ron teaching John the basics of Geki Juken. We get a little bit of character development for Retsu since he's really frustrated and he has to learn how to like help John learn about it. It is a big thing in this. They kind of touch it on Jungle Fury, but I think it's a bit more sophisticated here. The Gekirangers discover that as a team, the three of them, they perfectly represent the triangle of the three unique attributes for Juken. The three attributes are heart, technique, and body. So Ron represents heart. She fights with heart, and her fighting style revolves more around speed, which comes from heart. Retsu is technique because his fighting style was very technique based, and John is body. He's more like strength based. And because of that, they are able to summon their Geki beasts in giant form, in a physical form. John, Tiger, uh, Retsu, the jaguar, and Ron, the cheetah, and they're able to combine to form Geki Tojo. The one thing I want to say about this episode that I really like is that there's a scene where Retsu is talking with Miki, trying to complaining about how he has to teach John how to do Geki Juken. And what I love about this, I think this is a little bit more sophisticated than what Jungle Fury does, where Theo is just trains Casey because he has to, and kind of everybody has different training styles, which is fine. But what I like is that Retsu thinks, okay, I learned how to fight like this because I like to fight like this. Well, John really is really intrigued by these nunchaku. So I can teach him a training style with the nunchaku because that's what intrigues him. I think that's has a bit more of a human, like a little bit more of an organic thing to it, and that's the thing I really like about this episode. What do you guys think of our second episode, though? Go ahead.
The one thing I do respect about this is that usually when they establish these kind of like, I guess you could say archetypes for how how they do the body technique and heart thing.
Yep.
Those are usually throwaway lines in other seasons, but just kind of looking ahead to how the rest of the batch of episodes we're looking at, these are actually established, and they actually integrate them into combat. Where what Jan is kind of like the power of the group. Retsu is the kind of the more flashy and stylistic fighter, and Ran is very like Chun-Li-esque in how she fights with just like these rapid blows. Like they're actually integrated into their combat style, and I appreciate that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was literally a throwaway line in Jungle Fury. No offense to Jungle Fury.
Even when they try to establish stuff like this in other seasons, they just end up being tossed aside. But here they actually run with it, and it's nice. I respect it.
Yeah. Riz, you want to add anything as the other guy who's never seen this?
Yeah, I have to agree with Patrick that I like how they integrate the three attributes to make the mech. I think that's pretty cool that they're actually following through with it. Going back to your comment, Nate, about Gekiranger doing it better than Jungle Fury for how they trained the Red, who has no idea how to fight. So this is where I have an issue with Retsu right now. It's not a critical issue, so don't take it that way. But the thing that I think would have helped here in the Sentai would have been a little bit more feel for Retsu as a character. Because he just seems very one-dimensional here in personality. And
Yes.
I think this falls back on what Patrick said in the last episode about how they rush things way too quickly. And this is a product of that being the problem here. And it felt rushed. I have no idea who Retsu really is. All I can get is he's some arrogant dick who doesn't like the new guy because he's kind of a jungle boy, and I get why, because jungle boys are not typically the kind of person you'd want on your team being your leader. So I get why he'd be annoyed, but I don't get anything else out of it. Like when we met Theo, we knew he spent years at Paiswa learning that he trained with Lily, that he is a perfectionist. We had an idea who he was as a character before he even laid hands on Casey to train him. And that slight detail here bugged me a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not critical though, so I don't think it is, but that's just my observation on that to counter yours.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but my thing is more like in Jungle Fury, RJ just gives them and assigns them these weapons, while within Gekiranger, John really likes the nunchaku. You know, he has like a childlike fascination with it. And
John is a childlike fascination with everything.
yeah, I know, but like Retsu thinks like, okay, he likes these weapons. Maybe I can use that to help train him a bit better.
Yeah, and I think that part is done better, that he selected a weapon based on what Zahn's more interested in. I will give you that, but I think the interaction of the actual training lacked a little bit because we didn't know Retsu too well yet.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ups and downs in here.
But I think we can all agree that like the heart, technique, and body thing is one of the big strong points of this series.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And also, I gotta say, despite the hands, I think Master Safu is a really cool character. He fills the RJ role, but he's nowhere near RJ at being RJ. Because RJ just is amazing in Jungle Fury, but
Yes.
Master Safu, if I hadn't seen Jungle Fury ever, I would be like, I would feel like how I feel for RJ right now with him.
Yeah.
He has the same kind of way of talking. He has the same kind of way to teach lessons, and he has the same kind of philosophy as RJ. But RJ just does RJ better.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with that.
So I just want to call that out, that I thought he's a really well done character. He is fantastic. It's just RJ's more fantastic.
I do like how they play up the fact that he's a cat.
Yeah.
He does stupid cat stuff to kind of take away from him being a really good and knowledgeable mentor, and then he'll fall on the ground and start rubbing his nose. What?
When John first met him and he ran over and started rubbing him,
yeah,
that cracked me up.
Yeah.
This is the great man. Take advantage of some of those jokes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And they haven't been excessive, so it's a good thing.
No.
Yeah. You want to add anything to this, Anthony?
Oh, yeah, I overall like this episode 2. Like just the fact that they're all teaming up and like finally coming together as a team. John still being John, but that is something you just can't help for now.
What do we think about Geki Toja as a main mech? I always thought it was. Do what?
I was gonna say I can start off, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, you can go ahead.
Okay. So I have the benefit of just having watched all of Jungle Fury, and honestly, that mech is like it's stolen its place in my heart as one of the best mechs in the franchise, I think. Like the reason I like it, it's so simple. It's literally 3 mechs that come together to make the mech. And it's also very nimble. It has amazing mobility.
Thank you.
Those suit actors, dude, I don't know how they were able to jump around and do those crazy maneuvers the way they did in those heavy suits, but man, they maneuvered crazy good. Like I couldn't help but notice, like all throughout Jungle Fury, just how nimble and how versatile the movements was on that mech.
Yeah.
So,
What One of the things I've always disliked about the Mech and Megazord fights is how clunky they all are. But the fact that this thing is actually, like you said, nimble. And I don't know about you, but the sets they used for the mecha battles and the camera angles are a lot more dynamic too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
the other Sentai that comes close to this would be Gekiranger with the what's the first mech called? Help.
Gekiranger Robo, is that what his name
Yeah,
was?
they're role.
Yeah, that one's also similarly nimble, and I like the way that in that one the mech can, sneak around buildings, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not just here's a sword. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
do a thing with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
The mecha fights are actually interesting and engaging because they do something unique with them too. So it's just,
Also, is this the first mech in the mainline Sentai that has no sword as the primary mech?
I think there's a handful of them that don't, but
I know
I can't think of any.
Aberreno didn't, but he had a drill hand.
Okay,
Yeah.
that counts as a sword to me.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, it doesn't have a primary weapon.
I just think the concept of the mech in general is great because keep in mind these aren't like machines; they're literal like spiritual projections that are extensions of the Gekirangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's probably what makes it one of the more unique mechs. I'd probably put it in my top 5, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is like a really good mech.
Did anyone else feel like weirded out when you heard bones cracking when they were like combining the legs together?
Okay, yeah. That was annoying.
Yeah. I was
It's
trying to
like
figure that out.
it's
I
like
get it when they're fighting and they do like that crack of their knuckles thing to do like a move. But
yeah.
hearing it when the mech's limbs move to get into place is a little bit much.
It's like, but they're not even like actual like their legs. It's all it's like a spiritual projection being physically manifested.
Crack.
What would we give the rating for the second lesson, guys? I'd say 8 for me, just because I like the debut of Geki Toja and
yeah, 7 I think would be better.
yeah.
I'm giving it a 7 as well.
Anthony?
I'm also gonna give it a 7.
All right. Okay, well, we can just move on to we're gonna these next couple of lessons. We do have some story arcs, but this next one, I guess, it's prelude to major. We actually don't have that many filler episodes in this batch, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, it's all pretty useful.
Third lesson is called Shio Cleaning Power, which this episode is just about John going through training where he has to scrub the floor to do training while they're fighting against a bull monster, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I think that this is great. I like this episode, and I like the Jungle Fury episode too. Like, I mean, but I think this works for Gekiranger as well a little bit better because with Jungle Fury, it's great. Like we get to see, John, uh, Casey expand his training a bit more, and it's like RJ just being straight up Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. But I think it works better with the Gekiranger though because this is going to be a major theme in all of these episodes where mundane tasks are seen as training, and I think that's the overarching theme for Gekiranger.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys think of this?
No, I agree with you that they handled the theme here a lot better in establishing the theme of how the Gekirangers are going to go for the rest of the season with training.
Mm-hmm.
It's not this, you must learn this mystical art form of ancient martial arts to overcome your enemies, but rather you must learn how to clean the floors. But the thing I liked about RJ's technique that I kind of wish they brought into that they kind of had in Gekiranger. So Casey wasn't just doing the floors. He fixed the chair. He did some other different errands for RJ that all of them helped him in the end to fight. And I think that was a really nice touch from the Miyagi side of it. And
But I think the scrubbing the floor in this one in particular, it was particular because they're battling against a bull monster, and he's able to like push a dust cloth with like 10-pound weights to like help them train to be able to push that monster.
And that part, to me, was interesting. I like the fact that they had the weights on there. That's something they didn't do in Single Fury, and I thought that was a pretty cool way to like enhance it. It just, I like the direction that they went with it. I definitely think that the way that he taught him was good. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying I kind of wish they had thrown in, "Hey, fix my chair, dude." But I definitely get where you're coming from.
Yeah, of course.
Patrick, pick your words.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything to say about this one. It was just like the training sequence was interesting. I do like how this season makes like you actually have to sit down and think about what this thing he's making them do is actually going to help. Because I was kind of catching on through watching them do these mundane things, like in the episodes after this too. They actually make you think, like, how is this going to help? And then you see an action, it's like, oh, I never would have thought of that. I thought this one was a bit goofy though, like to have him bull rush into an actual bull, and then I remembered, oh wait a minute, he's the body, he can take it.
He has to take it.
Right. And there we go, playing up the triangle again.
Yep.
I appreciate this.
And that's a common trend that we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Is them constantly referring back to the triangle in every episode almost, I feel.
Yeah. But it's good
So
because the team has specialists.
yeah, and I mean you wanna have specialists. You don't wanna have everyone doing everything.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense that Ron might be able to do something better than the others.
Mm-hmm. I'd probably give this an 8 out of 10, just for setting the theme with the training. I really like this episode, honestly.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Yeah.
Sorry, Patrick, I have to deviate from you this time.
It had to happen eventually.
We've been given the same scores all throughout, but this is the first time I have to say, sorry, Patrick.
All right, next up, fourth lesson, Zoa Zoa, the 5 Venom Fists. Believe it or not, this episode and the next episode were both combined into one episode for Jungle Fury, which kind of combines, well, it's kind of weird. Like, in the Jungle Fury episode, the first half revolved around them fighting Jared as Daishi, and then the next episode jumps right into the next where they fight against the centipede monster. But here, it's more fleshed out where we meet the Gekirangers' next set of enemies. These are 5 monsters called the 5 Venom Fists, including a centipede fist user Kademu, Gecko Fist Moria, Scorpion Fist Sorisa, Toad Fist Maga, and Snake Fist Bracco. Rio summons these 5 Venom Fists, and after they battle with the Gekirangers a little bit, he takes matters into his own hands and battles against the Gekirangers himself. He transforms for the first time into his Black Lion suit, which I love that suit. I love Rio's transform form. What do you guys think of this? And by the way, what do you think of Melee's transformed for? Too. I know that they try to imply it's a monster form, but they made that into a ranger key, so I think we kind of have to consider it a ranger.
I like Rio's. intimidating. Melee's, I think, is too bulky.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Riz?
Yeah, I didn't like Melee's monster form or ranger form or whatever form she has.
Well, it was made into it was a ranger key, so we have to consider it a ranger.
Yeah, I have questions on that, but we'll get to that when we get to that. I love the Black Lion suit though. Hands down, one of the best suits in the season, in my opinion.
And another parallel to the Jedi versus Sith thing, since you could say that this guy's like Darth Vader.
Exactly what I was gonna go with here. My thoughts on this episode, though, I liked where we were going with this. Very solid intro to the 5 poison bosses.
Yep.
And very solid, hey, here's Rio being Rio and doing his Rio stuff. Like, I like Rio a lot more than I like Jared right now.
You know, normally it's a cliche for like the main villain to spare, because in this episode Rio like easily walks through the Gekirangers, like there's no challenge. But then he feels like intrigued by like John's spirit, and he decides that he wants to let the Gekirangers become stronger. It makes sense with Rio though, because Rio says specifically in this episode that his goal is to become the one true master of Juken, and in order to achieve like the maximum strength, he wouldn't want to defeat enemies when they're at their weakest. He would want the enemies to become the strongest they possibly can, so that he can defeat them then, because only then he could call himself truly the strongest. So I think it makes a lot of sense for him to not kill the Gekirangers right here, because he doesn't feel like they're strong enough yet, if you know what I'm going with this.
Yeah, it's an honor thing here. It's following a code of honor, and I like that.
Yeah, it's a cliche, but they're actually using the cliche in a pretty clever way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You want to add anything, Patrick?
I can already tell I'm going to like him, because I'm always a fan of Sentai and Power Ranger villains who get their hands dirty. And we just came off of a season where the villains did that at nauseum, to the point where I completely forgot the Vyram had foot soldiers.
They have foot soldiers?
That's true.
But Rio, his first appearance, he just shows up and he's actually scary. Like, honestly, he made the sky turn dark, for the love of Pete. But yeah, I think I'm gonna like this guy.
Yeah, Rio is a really strong, well-written character. And honestly, the way to write in Melee.
Just say Melee.
Okay. I think Melee is written really well as well. They do a really good job of capturing her devotion to Ryu and her love for him and her compassion for him. Camille in Jungle Fury was a great character, don't get me wrong, but I think Melee was done better for the simple fact that while Camille seemed to have like a thing for Dicey, it wasn't as profound or as well established quickly as it is here. Like almost immediately, Homegirl has a thing for Homeboy, but in Jungle Fury, it's kind of like it was like a little bit of a guessing game, right?
Is her sucking up to Rio. Like her roll call is, for Rio Sama's love, I live. For Rio Sama's love, I fight as his love.
Exactly, and I think that's a good way to like define her character's role and to let us know what to expect.
But at the same time, I'm glad they didn't make that solely her personality, because when she's not around him, she's kind of smug and sarcastic.
Yeah.
And I like that about her.
And I mean, I don't remember Flip's Sentai name, but I definitely like the interactions between her and him.
Yeah, the fly guy.
Yeah, I don't know the fly guy's name in Sentai, I forget.
Yeah. Camille kind of just told him to shut up. But Melee, like, she gives him a snark.
No, they have banter. They go back and forth.
Yeah, they have banter. Yeah.
Like, I think Rio is better than Jared just simply because with Rio, he's doing everything out of his own free will. With Jared, like 90% of the time, you really feel like it's just Daishi in the driver's seat. So
yeah, but
yeah,
I think that's kind of where the whole Jared Daishi thing is. I've always been a fan of it because it felt like a how do I word this?
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
An accidental one. Well, Mr. Hyde was an accident anyway, but
yeah,
we're not shown as much of an internal mental struggle between Jared and Daishi, though.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the problem with it was. But I did like how it was clear that Jared was a victim in this whole thing, and that
100%.
But having Rio actually being a dedicated evil, he's basically, I mean, one of my favorite things in Sentai is evil teams, and this man's an evil Gekiranger.
Yep.
So I'm a fan of this.
I just find the whole Rio giving with this episode, it gives great insight to Rio. I'd actually give this one a 9 out of 10. It's very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9. Wow, we can all agree.
Dun dun dun. All right, fifth left sin, Uja, what should I do? This the next couple of episodes revolve around the Gekirangers battling the individual Venom fists. In this case, they battle against the Centipede Fist, Kademu. It's kind of a Ran-centric episode, sort of. It's basically all about John training with Ron to learn more from her to combat anxiety. It should be noted that in this episode, we do learn about Rio's motivation for reviving the 5 Venom Fist. He's looking for something called the Madoku. Now, we don't know what the Madoku is, although we will find out what it is at the end of this podcast. One of the 5 Venom Fist wields the Madoku, but he's not sure which one. I thought this episode was okay, but it has flaws. I don't like how I feel like this episode wants to be both a John and Ron episode, and that kind of hurts it because like it's all about John trying to deal with his anxiety, but then we also see but there's also heavy emphasis on Ron. I mean, Ron destroys the monster by herself, which is cool, by the way. I like that.
Yeah. This episode was a Ron episode that they forced some character moments for John. I didn't like that. It bothered me a little bit.
This is something that I've been kind of feeling in the background for the last couple episodes as well. This is the way it's written up until now. It feels like John Sentai John Ranger with my friends Ron and Retsu.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of I've never been a fan of red centric Sentais, like where the other members of the team don't contribute anything or aren't given their chance to do their own thing without the red having to have his own thing intermixed with it.
Yeah.
Like, Marvelous was a strong personality in Gokaiser. He was a fan favorite, but there were definitely a lot of episodes where I, him, Luca, and the others could all have their moment in the sun as well,
Yeah.
But here, it grates on my nerves a little bit that John, first of all, is a very irritating character. I don't like him at all. And then he's forced into every scene with that childlike curiosity of, ooh, tell me more about this. or ooh, I want to do this, or why can't I do that, or just him having a childish tantrum. Like it just the entire idea bugs me a lot.
Yeah. I've seen 3 Sentai that I would say are very heavily red centric. Car Ranger was kind of like that, but it was so stupid that I didn't care. Die Ranger and
Goryuger.
Koryuji, yeah, it was. I was slipping over it. With Ryu Ranger and Kyoryu Red were just insufferably centered, like center focused. That was it. That's all that mattered. And I didn't like either of those seasons for that reason.
You're talking about King, right?
Yeah, King. Yeah.
Yeah, King was extremely red centric, and he made the same issues that I have here.
Yeah, and Die Ranger is no different with Ryu Ranger. He is literally every main villain is defeated by him, and I don't like when seasons do this, and I'm hoping that Gekiranger doesn't stick to this.
Yeah, it just sucks that.
I think you'll be okay with how they defeat the main villain ultimately. Then
That's good.
Yeah.
I do have one question, Nate. You can don't tell me how, but just answer this question yes or no. Do they ever explain why he was in the forest in the first place?
John?
Yes.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They do? Okay, good. Yeah, I was about to say, if they just started off with him being a jungle boy and didn't explain it at all, that would have driven me crazy.
Of course, yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, and I think my headcanon here is that he's Tarzan, and Tarzan's parents got in a plane crash, and he ended up in the jungle.
No, there's a deeper story with one of his parents.
I swear to God, if he's related to Rio, I'm going to scream.
I can't. I'm not going to accept I am your father in the Star Wars back and forth light and dark side thing here. That just rip off.
Just make it extremely on the nose.
Yeah.
Let's even have a scene where he says, "I am your father."
I don't want to say anything without giving spoilers.
Okay.
I give this maybe a 6 out of 10. I don't like how John gets jammed into it.
It's a 5.
I'm gonna go to 4. He bugged me.
Yeah. Next up, we get a Retsu-centric episode called Ju-On, What's That? Where they battle against the Gecko Fist user, Moria. It's a pretty simple episode. We're getting more of Retsu's backstory. We find out in this episode that he had a bright future in art as a painter before he decided to take up Juken. He wanted to avenge his brother. And we're actually shown him meeting his brother in a flashback, though we don't see his brother's face, which is foreshadowing, by the way, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I don't want us to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Riz, ironically enough, Riz made a prediction before we started this podcast. I didn't make a comment, though, because I don't... Yeah.
I'll make the prediction here for you if Patrick's cool with it.
No, I already know what this prediction is, because my brother...
Did I mention it in... Did I mention it in the general chat? I forgot where I put that.
No, my brother's seen this season.
The what?
My brother has seen this season, so he told me years ago.
Oh, okay.
So I know what it is.
What was your prediction, Riz?
My prediction that I can't substantiate because I don't know if it's true or not, but obviously the brother will return at some point in the season.
Yep.
And if the brother returns at some point in the season, he's probably going to be a Sentai Ranger. And if he's a Sentai Ranger, based on your comments on the fact that y'all don't like Geki Chopper, I'm going to assume he's the purple one because we like this character. And I say we like him because he seems like a very interesting character compared to what we probably are going to have to suffer through with Geki Chopper.
Maybe you guys will like Geki Chopper, because some people like Geki Chopper. I don't, but I'd like to see what you guys think later on. But yeah, I'm not going to comment on that because I don't want to spoil it for Riz.
Yeah.
Pretty much this whole episode is Retsu trying to find a way to defeat Moria because Moria has a special technique that allows him to stick to walls, and the no-brainer would be just knock him on the ground so they can defeat him. But Retsu is more like, no, I want to defeat him with his own technique, which I really like. I really like this episode. I told Anthony this back a while back. Like, I hate the Jungle. Okay, I don't want to make too many comparisons to Jungle Fury, but I hate the Jungle Fury episode that was adapted from this episode. Like, ignoring how whiny Theo is in that episode. In that episode, Theo's lesson on why he got defeated by the monster was that he didn't have enough confidence in himself. Okay, earlier episodes, you're putting Casey and Lily down. Even at the beginning of this episode, you're bragging about how better you are as a fighter than Lily and Casey. And you're meaning to tell me that your problem is that you didn't have enough self-confidence? No. You were overconfident. That always bugged me. I hate that Jungle Fury episode. I love the lesson. I just think that Theo was the wrong character to teach with that. That's like my number one worst episode from a good season of Power Rangers. I just hate that episode. But I think that this one was good. I think Retsu wanting to defeat Moria's technique by using the technique feels like, to kind of go off of what Riz said about Rio was more of an honor thing. But what do you guys think about this episode?
I like this episode a lot. And here's why. We actually get to figure out who Retsu is, and so up until this point, the only thing I could really say about Retsu is that he's a bit of an arrogant prick. And he's just, suffering through having this jungle boy around as their, red. And we didn't know him. Like, we didn't know anything about him, but here we learn he's an artist. He's a really well sought after artist that people want to pay him lots of money to buy his art and then do whatever they want with, like, sell it again or whatever. And the entire brother backstory thing for why he joined the team is actually pretty cool as well. And this is the stuff that this episode should have happened earlier than it did. Like, maybe not with the battle against the monster of the week here, but this information could have been kind of alluded to earlier to at least establish the character better. Because it's a solid episode to explain Retsu. 9 out of 10 for me, but
You said 9 out of 10?
yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably go with that.
Yeah, I would go with that too.
Because it gives a great expose into who Retsu is, but it came a bit later than I wanted.
Yeah, they've dollied too long on getting us fully acclimated with Retsu and Ron, honestly.
Yeah.
But
And they spent too much time letting me get to know John's terrible dictionary of words.
But this episode also, again, they have the one who embodies technique fight on the side of a skyscraper. Thank you. The choreography and the camera work in this season has been great, like compared to other Sentai of this era. Because I've seen the two Sentai that follow this, Goanger and Shinkenger, and I think this season is outdoing them in terms of camera work and everything.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So, yeah, as I said, I gave this one a 9 also.
Did you want to add anything, Riz?
I've said my piece.
Okay. All right, then we can move on to the next one. We actually have a kind of a two-parter, I think, where it revolves around them battling against Maga and Sorisa, the Toad and Scorpion Fist users. So in the first episode, we are introduced to Mickey's daughter, Natsume, who is she attends dance classes and the Gekirangers after getting defeated by Sorisa, who uses like a dancing technique to fight. They actually learn how to dance in order to train better, but then unfortunately, even though they're able to defeat Sorisa, Maga is able to fight, and he has his ultimate defense where he has like this slime-like shield. So Sorisa and Maga are like this invincible duo. So they have to use their new weapon, the Geki Bazooka, to defeat them. And the second part revolves around. Actually, they both go through training here, and I think it's focused on equally between them. Ron and Retsu have to learn how to better manipulate their Geki to charge the Geki Bazooka, while John, who has to protect them while they charge, has to learn the importance of patience. And they do it both really great. Mickey and Master Shafu teach Retsu and Ron how to better manipulate their Geki through piano playing. And with John, he's taught about the importance of patience by Natsumi teaching him how to cook, which that's so clever. Like this might be one of the best episodes I've seen where they implement like the menial task training. To be honest, what do you guys think?
This two-parter did a really good job of showing, I think, one of the strengths of this season, and that's kind of like the way they teach the Rangers, because everything seems simple, but they very smartly integrated into their combat. Like it's none of this has been lazy, and I appreciate how they approach a lot of this stuff. But can we just talk about how this two-parter started with them training and they got called in to deal with a monster, and when they got to the monster, they walked into the filming of the Thriller music video?
Yeah, that's insane.
That's clearly what they were referencing.
Yeah,
It was
cool reference though.
Yeah, it got a good chuckle out of me. And this episode does make me angry that Miki doesn't suit up at any point in the season, because I do like when she fights.
Melee?
No, Miki.
Oh yeah.
Because it's clear she has experience. She has an animal spirit attached to her. Why don't they give her a suit?
Yeah, like I literally said at the beginning that she wields the leopard fist.
Yeah,
so
yeah, it's like Deca Swan her or something. Like, come on.
Yeah, that would have been cool. They actually combined these two episodes into Jungle Fury, and I don't hate the Jungle Fury episode, but it's just a stock episode where like Casey and Theo need to learn to have a better relationship. I think this one is just better just because it has like the training aspect to it a bit more.
Yeah.
Riz, you've been no, go ahead, Patrick.
And watching their master flop around the room while they're playing the piano wrong is hilarious.
Yeah, 100%. Riz?
Yeah, so I liked this episode, two-parter. I thought the lessons that they learned with dancing and with the cooking was really helpful. Though I will say I hate how John takes the lesson and uses the phrase in later episodes.
Oh yeah, we have to say that, guys. Every time they shoot the Geki bazooka, John has to say "fuck you, Stu." Like,
it bugs the crap out of me.
Honestly,
to be fair, in the next episode, Retsu and Ron both say, "John, could you stop that, please?"
Yeah.
So, at least the show is aware of how annoying it is.
I mean, I actually find it hilarious because I'm maybe it's just because I'm a fan of tension break stuff. So having a serious moment where we're about to kill him and he just screams out the name of a food of a meal, I get a laugh out of
it. It undermines the red and
it.
okay, so first of all,
no, you have a point, and I'm gonna jump off of that when we get to the character discussion.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make it brief because I want to give a bigger rant at the end. We're undermining our red, but we're also putting a lot of emphasis on our red, and the end result is terrible because he's not a red that you can trust. Like, honestly, do I really want to say it? Yeah, I think I'm gonna say it. Takaharu from Ninja was a better leader than Zahn at this point.
Oh, goodness, man, that's saying something.
Like,
that's like saying that Mac is better than a Red Ranger from Power
it is
Rangers.
because okay, Takaharu was an idiot. He was annoying. He had no good qualities, but at least he tried to fight the enemy and do something and come to a solution that worked. John just Patrick, you're gonna understand this, I think. I don't know if you know a lot of psychology, Nate, but John follows the id very, very closely.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know what the id is the part of you that you develop when you're like 2 years old. Like it's all about you, me, 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 me. And that is John's character as far as I can tell.
Well, to be fair, I'll say this right here. They've never fit. Now, I get why you're saying this because in Jungle Fury, they always try to say that Casey is the leader from the first episode. But believe it or not, okay, this is going to be kind of a spoiler, but
Then
I mean,
don't say it.
What?
Then don't say it.
Okay, okay. I'm just going to say this right here. They have never specifically stated who the leader is here.
Oh no, I know. I know.
So, unlike Casey, who is officially stated to be the leader, we can't technically say that John is the leader here.
No, he's not the leader, and I know that for a fact, but he still needs to learn to be a team player.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I get that. I just wanted to give some clarity on that.
At least when Casey tried to the first time when they failed to use the cannon, at least Casey's reason of let me try and do something and it failed was more respectable than John just being like, he made me mad. I'm gonna show him who's boss because I can't allow him to be sewing me up like that because boo hoo, I'm John and I want to feel important.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, this is one time where I'm gonna have to say that Jungle Fury did it better than Geki.
Oh, 100%.
Like, Casey handled that a lot better, and he actually had remorse. John never shows remorse for what he did.
Well, it's all down to mentality.
Exactly.
Casey is an adult. John is a kid, and it makes Casey a lot more. Well, how do I put this? It makes him easier to develop as a character.
Yeah.
When he understands his own faults.
Well, it just leads to better character writing because
that too.
You have this guy who starts off as like an apprentice. He has no right to be a Jungle Fury Red or any Jungle Fury color, period. And he's given the responsibility of being a leader on a team, and he's trying to learn to be a leader. So he's in a predicament where he's set up to fail from the beginning. So the fact that he did fail the first time they tried to bazooka, I'm not surprised by that. I think that shows a lot more growth for him than anything else.
Yeah.
But with John, he had a chance to show remorse, but he threw another tantrum, and it bugged me that he was
And
throwing tantrums about this.
And honestly, you bring that up about the whole thing of Casey being the least experienced of the three. That's the case here, but I really don't feel it in Gekiranger so far. They
No,
say that
because they gave him. Okay, so I was thinking about this on my drive home today, and how when the Mighty Morphin Rangers got their powers, they innately knew how to pilot the Megazord, how to fight, how to use the powers. Like, they're doing this here with John, but it doesn't work here because here your power derives from your martial arts skills that you're learning from the school. But with the Mighty Morphin team, there's no martial arts to fall back on to except for what you learn in your extracurricular activities as a high school student. So it's okay for us to say, oh yeah, here's a morpher. The first time you morph, you're going to be injected with all this knowledge and skills that you didn't have before that'll make you innately able to pilot a big dinosaur mech. But John doesn't get that luxury here, and he shouldn't be getting that luxury here.
No. And they could have even given that excuse to Casey because they kind of established just how the morphing grid works. But they didn't. They actually showcased him being a weaker fighter than the other two and had him develop into an equal. But here, it feels like he's on their level already, even though they keep saying he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, nothing in his fighting style indicates that he's a bad fighter or like a bad
exactly.
ranger.
So you're expecting me to believe that, oh, he's just a rookie, he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, he seems to be doing more work than you two.
Well, okay, the thing is, like, I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, so correct me if I'm wrong here. But even the first time they all Henson together, he does the form correctly, he does the Henson correctly, he does the pose correctly, he says the right name correctly. There's no messing it up, there's no uncertainty, there's no wavering in what he's doing. He's doing it. And so, again, we're undermining the red.
Yeah.
And I know he's not the leader, I get it, but you're still undermining a ranger at the end of the day. And that's not good. Just like how I said in Jetman, we can't undermine the villain. We can't undermine the ranger either.
Yeah.
So, because if you undermine your rangers, then there's no point in watching because they're not poised to win. And if they do win, I have to call Deus Ex Machina on them. I think I gave most of my rant here.
Yeah, you did.
Crap.
But you can get more detail later on.
We will.
But I'd give this two-parter maybe. I want to give it probably an 8 out of 10, just because I think the big thing that makes me give it an 8 over a 7 is that it does revolve around John's training, but I think it gives an equal amount of focus to Retsu and Ron with the piano training. So that's why I want to give it a slightly higher rating, because I don't think John completely steals the show in this episode.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I have to disagree. I think he's told the story more than he should have here.
But there's just as much time dedicated to Retsu and Ron's training as his.
Yes, but there's also a lot of him being a child and throwing tantrums after the fact.
I can see
And
how
so-
that's annoying. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
And
I'd probably
so-
give him like a 6 or a 7, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because a 6 is what I would give because of the Ron and Retsu development.
Yeah.
The rest of it would come from John's training, honestly.
The one important thing I want to say at the anything else you want to say about this two-parter?
No.
The only thing I want to say is that at the end of this episode, this is for the plot, guys, is that with Sorisa and Maga defeated, there's only one Venom Fist left, Bracco. So they assume that he is the wielder of the Madoku. And that leads us directly into the next lesson, 9th lesson, the Kina woman. This is pretty much the final battle of the with the Venom Fists, although it's not between Bracco and the Gekirangers, though. It is between Bracco and Melee. That's pretty interesting. So in this episode, Melee battles with Bracco because Bracco reveals that he wants to overthrow Rio and take over the Juken hall for himself. It is revealed here that Bracco does wield the Madoku, which it gives him these 6 snake fingers that act as a reverse poison. They can basically revive people. He has 6, but he uses 3 in this episode. Melee kills him, and then he uses one of the fingers to revive himself. He uses 2 more to revive Kademu and Moria, both of whom get immediately killed in this episode as well. And Melee steals the final 3 because it's revealed that the bracelets that Rio obtained in the first episode contain the souls of the Fist Demons, who are they're basically like Master Shafu, except they're evil. And Rio wants to revive them, so he has the bracelets that hold their souls, and now he wants the Madoku so he can revive them, and he gets the 3 snake fingers in order to revive them. We are shown a flashback for Melee's past at the beginning of this episode, where it's revealed that she was a lowly Rinju beast, and then she got revived by Rio because Rio sensed her desire to become stronger, and ever since then, she's been so loyal and loving of Rio. I love this episode. I love episodes that revolve predominantly around the villain and don't necessarily give much to the to the main heroes. I think a Sentai needs to have an episode like that every once in a while, and they do a good job of giving the Gekirangers something to do, like. The Gekirangers plot is that they're trying to figure out how to use the Geki bazooka more efficiently, which, that's fine. You can just give them something to do on the side. I think this gives a great insight to Melee's character. I really love this episode. What about you guys?
So, I'm going to start off by doing a quick Jungle Fury discussion here. I think Gekiranger actually handled the bazooka better than Jungle Fury did.
Yeah,
100%.
Because there is a timing thing that they mentioned. Like, why did it take them so long in the first use of the bazooka? But then in the later ones, it was almost instantaneous. Like, they must have had some training or something that happened in the background to help them do that. So kind of having it mentioned in Gekiranger, like, oh yeah, we're working on getting better. That goes a long way. Like, if they just had a throwaway line in Single Fury saying that'd been better. But they didn't. So, I'm giving points to Gekiranger for covering that here. As far as the Melee stuff, dude, I love Melee's character a lot. She's probably my top of my list for the characters in the season right now.
I think it's better handled in Jungle Fury in general because, like, with Camille, I don't think Camille's a bad character, but like the motivation in the Power Rangers equivalent for this episode is more that she thinks that Daishi is going to give her something ultimately in return. Like, if he conquers the world, maybe I'll have some of the world that I can rule over myself. While it's much deeper with Melee. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think Melee is a much more deeply written character than Camille at this point. But I think Camille's motivation was stronger in that episode. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. I think the villains are leaving a better impression on me so far than the Gekirangers themselves are.
Yeah, that's what I've been kind of hinting.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes me, which is kind of funny because I don't like Ghost Sager, and I don't think Ghost Sager does a good job of developing its characters. The funny thing is that one thing we're never gonna, I don't think we would ever review Gekiranger until Ghost Sager until a really long time later. But I really do think that the main villain of that Sentai, Brajira, he was adapted into Rock in Megaforce. I feel like if they gave him more development, he could have actually been the thing that steals the show. So I get the feeling that Michiko Yokote probably prefers to give the villains more of a spiciness to it than the actual characters. Which, I mean, if that's her writing style, fine. But I don't know. I think that's just a pattern I'm starting to notice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's definitely becoming a pattern.
I thought that this was a fantastic episode with the villain part. I'd probably give this a 9 out of 10, actually.
Yeah, same here.
I think Melee is great.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because the big thing that did it for me is that, like, is how Naja... No. Naja is the name of the guy from Jungle Fury, sorry. Is how Bronco tries to lure Melee to his cause by saying, hey, I mean, you're not really alive, but if I can give you the Madoku and you could be given true life as like a human or something like that, she actually considers it because that would be something that she would want. But ultimately, she chooses her loyalty over to Rio over that, which is both tragic, but it's also kind of beautiful, to be honest.
And I don't know if you guys caught this too, but when she handed those things over to Rio gave her like a look. Like, I almost feel like that he shares the same sentiment towards her, but he doesn't want to show it.
Yeah.
I hope that goes somewhere.
It will, believe me.
Oh, thank goodness.
I'm not spoiling, but it will.
Well, you're giving me something to look forward to then.
Absolutely. Next up, we get a two-part... anything else you guys want to say before we move on to the last batch?
Nah.
All right. We're finishing up with a two-parter here. 10th and 11th lesson. Jara Attack, the First Errand, and Ukya Beast Fist Armament. So in this two-parter, the Gekirangers are battling against a pangolin monster that they can't defeat because of his armor, and he's trying to burrow himself under the ground so that he can start an earthquake. And the Gekirangers travel to the mountains to meet Master Shafu's friend Elefung, who is a fist sage, just like Master Shafu, except he's an elephant, while Master Shafu is a cat. And Ron goes through training with Elefung to learn how to use his weapon, the Geki Hammer, which is like this ball and chain mace. At the end of this episode, so we get the debut of a new weapon, the Geki Hammer, and it also has Geki Beast counterpart, the Geki Elephant, which Ron is able to summon with her new Elephant Fist. And Geki Elephant can actually combine with Geki Toja to form Geki Elephant Toja, giving it a similar weapon to the Geki Hammer. An important development in the plot, besides the Geki Elephant appearing, is that on the side we have a plot of Rio trying to revive the first Fist Demon, and he does at the very end. We are introduced to he at the very end of this episode, he is able to use the first of the 3 remaining Madoku fingers to revive Kata, who is the Sky Fist Demon, and he wields the Hawk Fist. But he doesn't do much in this. This is just an introduction to him. Okay, we got to talk about the elephant guy. This guy is Master Roshi on steroids.
Yeah, I don't like this.
And that's a good kind of steroids.
Yeah, I don't like this character trope that Japan gives old male characters of them being perverts. It's exhausting.
It's worse because he's an elephant. He's like rubbing his trunk. And no, I don't mean that in a dirty way, like his elephant trunk. Although that sounds so dirty just me saying that. He's rubbing it all over Ron.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, he got a little bit too close.
Yeah.
It was satisfying when he was trying to go after Miki too, and then Miki was like, "No, get out of here!" and she punches him.
Yeah, no.
Honestly, I liked him up until they met him at the house. Because
when he actually got
he was
serious,
fighting them.
Yeah.
What
But
were you going to say, Riz?
I was going to say, I liked him before we met him at the house when they revealed he's an elephant. Because he was a pretty good fighter, he was giving them a good challenge, and he seemed to be trying to help them train while just having fun.
But he touched Rand's butt while they were fighting.
Yeah, that was kind of awkward.
Yeah.
And like, I just...
I feel so sorry for Ron this entire episode.
Yeah, I think this character just needs to go away. Like, honestly, the Jungle Fury guy is so much better for this. Master Fant.
Yeah.
Because Master Fant treats Lily like a granddaughter. They have a family kind of relationship. They train together. They work out their problems together, and it's just a better dynamic. And that's what I was hoping we were going to get with these masters. Is like a second master to what we got with the cat. But no, the cat's not a good mentor, and that's kind of sad.
I mean, okay, I'll say this. I'm okay, okay, we're going to see other Fist Sages here. I'm okay with the Fist Sages all having, some different personalities. Like, not all of them have to be, these wise and, stoic people.
Yeah.
I don't like how the Paichua Masters are all kind of interchangeable. Mostly. I think Master Swoop is pretty unique. And Master Finn, I mean, he has his relationship with RJ. But I think their personalities are all interchangeable, so I don't mind the Fist Sages having different personalities, and I do prefer them over the Paichua Masters as a whole, but in the Elephant's case, I'll make a really huge exception, because I completely prefer Master Fant over this Elephant dude.
Yeah, definitely.
Other than that, this is just a pretty typical training episode where, that Elephant guy is trying to teach Ron how to just loosen up and, laugh a little bit.
Honestly, my only other comment I would make here, why make this the two-parter? Like, this could have been one episode.
It wasn't Jungle Fury.
I think it worked better as the one episode.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, they did linger on stuff in this one, didn't they?
They lingered a long time in a fight with Elephant or whatever his name is.
Ella Hung.
Ella whatever. They had to fight with him go for a lot longer than I was kind of hoping, and then there's a lot of extra crap where he's trying to train Ron, but Retsu and Zahn are around doing their own thing, and that kind of derailed quite a bit more than it should have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, the better story would have been to just send Ron on her own to handle this, but I also get that that's a bad idea given he's a pervert.
I don't want to know what he would have done if Ron was only by herself.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about that.
Mm-mm.
I'd probably give this a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that wraps up the episode portion. Just to, I want to ask you guys both, since neither one of you have seen this Sentai before, like, what are your early thoughts on this? Like, what do you guys think as a whole? And you guys can basically have the floor because, same way that Riz and Anthony had the floor mostly with Jetman.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Patrick.
I don't know. I kind of went into this hoping for it to be on par with Jungle Fury because because I've heard a lot of people say, well, if you liked one, then you'll like the other. So, but up to this point, I feel kind of let down because there really isn't a story, at least not yet. And the core three are either irritating or underutilized. And outside of Rio and Melee, there's nothing really interesting going on here yet. So I'm kind of just blah to it so far. It's very good in the combat though, but that's not why we watch this show. I mean, it's what got us into it, but in the long run, that's not why we stuck around. So,
yeah, I had a feeling that this is probably what you guys would think that because I do think that Jungle Fury has the better characters. I just think that
like up to this point, there's not even a question about that.
Well, okay, the better main Rangers, because I think I would say that like the main 3 Rangers are better, hands down. Rio and Melee are better than Jared and Camille, though.
Yes.
And I would say, okay, as much as we're gonna have we're obviously gonna have bias toward RJ because we watched RJ first, but I think RJ and Master Shafu are on equal ground as mentors.
Yes.
I think Miki. Okay, technically, I guess Miki and Fran fill each other's roles, but I think Miki is the much better character.
Yeah. 50-50 on that. I think it's situation to situation.
Well, I like Miki though because she has like more of a motherly role to John,
and she can fight, but
yeah,
Fran was a goofball.
I think
fine.
No, I think Fran did it better than Miki. I don't think Miki is better than Fran. At least not yet. Obviously, we still have another 30 episodes to go or something like that. But initial thoughts, Fran did it better than her. Simply because Fran had a lot of character growth early on. Like, when you first meet Fran, she literally identifies herself as, "Hi, I like pizza. I like coming here every day and ordering a pizza. And I like sitting here and hanging out for the entire day. I'm not weird or anything, don't judge me." And the next thing we know, when they come back from fighting, she's like, "Where were you guys? I ran around the store, taking orders, making pizzas and everything." And like, everyone needs a Fran in their life. Fran is just that character that you need in your life. Like, Miki, I can do without. Fran, no, I need a Fran in my life. Okay.
Is it even fair to say that Miki and Fran are the same character? Because like
You're the one making the comparison, so you tell me.
Yeah, you're right, but I think Miki is also kind of a secondary mentor to some degree, though, because
No,
Yeah,
she
he
is.
is.
I saw Miki as a mentor, and I don't see Fran as a mentor. Fran is
Fran,
a
Fran doesn't even know that they're Power Rangers at this
Yeah.
point in Jungle
Yeah.
Fury.
No, so I mean, like, at this point, Fran is just running around doing her thing, and she's adorable, and she's doing the best she can while dealing with a great deal of social anxiety. And dear God, I want to know what hurt her early on in life. Because poor baby, I just want to hug her, dude.
She's got Dom now, buddy. She's good.
Yeah. Dom isn't that great either, but whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
I say that, but Dom just didn't get much development in Jungle Fury, in my opinion. But
Probably because he got introduced when there were only 10 episodes left in the series.
Yeah,
I
pretty much.
have we'll get into this with the Jungle Fury review a lot more detail, but I have a lot of opinions on why. I've done some deep dives into it. I'll save it for then, though. Yeah, no, Fran hands down best character. The entire cast of Geki on the Ranger side suck, excluding the Master. Cat.
Shafu.
Yeah. I agree that him and RJ are very similar, but I slightly gravitate towards RJ more, not because I saw him first, but because I can relate to him better because he's a human.
Yeah, of course. 100%.
And I think his Mr. Miyagi isms just make him more compelling. Because when you first meet RJ, he's this pizzeria guy, he's a hippie, he's kind of like he's a typical granola loving, tree hugging hippie that goes around and does the thing. You
There's
would
literally an
never.
early episode where he goes to a fish contest to scare fish away so that they can't
Yes,
get caught.
yes, that did
I love
happen.
that.
And like, I don't know, they just he just did a better job of being the mentor and understanding the needs of the team. Like, okay, yeah, I get that we all love the way that he taught John to go clean the floors, but RJ taught Casey how to fight with 4 or 5 different things, like different activities. And so that made Casey a stronger fighter quicker. So then Casey could come out in the future and be competent on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So it explained that a lot better, I felt, than the one lesson a week kind of thing. I mean, I get it. They're students; they have to learn something every week. But like Patrick and I are saying, we undermined our Red Ranger here by making him seem like he needs more training, but then he's very competent in the battlefield. So, which is it?
Mm-hmm.
But with Casey, we know what we're getting, and that's because we know he's a novice. We know he has no idea what he's doing. But RJ is anticipating his needs a lot better, a lot more early on to help him get caught up quicker. So that when we do see the Sentai footage, we can say, "Oh, okay, well, he's fighting better now because RJ gave him the tools he needed back in episode 3, 4, whatever." And here with the Sentai, they drag this guy's training out. Even now, they're dragging it out.
I think another problem I have with John is that he's
John.
Well, he's the stereotypical modern Red of he's high energy, He acts before he thinks, and he's just overly animated. And I've never been a fan of this type of red. I prefer the reds that are more stoic, or in the case of Takaru, unique to his own, where there's not really another red like him.
Yeah,
But
Takaru can't be compared to the other reds of this time period.
He's on his own level. And then you've got the reds that are more stoic, like Gengar Red and Red Hawk and stuff, who are...
Even Marvelous is really stoic.
Well, Marvelous is a bit of a combination of everything. He's stoic, but he's got that high energy to him also.
But he's controlled.
Yeah,
he's a controlled high energy.
Yeah, but I mentioned this when we were talking about the Reds the last time, that Marvelous was kind of a hodgepodge of all of the stereotypical Red traits. And Jean so far is just the stereotypical hyper red, and I don't like these kind of reds at all.
He's very on par with Ninja Red at this point.
Yeah, he's just too much personality for me.
Yeah,
and the fact that this is setting itself up to be a heavily red-centric season is not helping anything for me so far.
No, it really isn't. Like,
and what sucks is that this is only a three-person team. It's not like they're being stretched thin to cover every character. There's only 3 of them.
And like,
why are you focusing on just one so much?
It should be noted that the other famous case of a hyperactive red that we discussed that got a lot of attention was King.
Yes.
And in the case of King, his red-centricness deprived 10 other people from getting any development.
Mm-hmm.
But here, he's destroying any character development with the other characters so far.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks because we had so few to go between. Like, if we had 10 of them again, like with King, okay, fine. We don't get to know all of them. I get it. But here, we only have a limited number of people. And it says something when I like the villains and the mentors more than the actual core 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was probably going to be the thoughts that you guys had going into this.
Yeah, so Nate, I'm going to ask the obvious question here.
Yeah.
When we started this series of 4 Sentai with Gokai, Senken, Jetman, and Geki, these are all the Sentai that we each had a favor towards. And I know Anthony's gone off to bed because it's late, but did y'all really like Gekiranger that much?
I mean, okay, I'll say this. Gekiranger for me is something that I like. I mean, but I like it for, I don't know. Gekiranger is kind of a weird style over substance thing for me. Like,
that's what I was getting out of it, yeah.
Because I really love the mythology and the story that surrounds Juken. We're going to get a lot of expansion into that, over the next couple of videos. I think so. I love the concept of Juken a little bit more because if there's one problem I have with Jungle Fury, it's that I think Jungle Fury's whole story behind the Pai Schwa and everything, and like where Daishi came from, is incredibly clunky, and it has a lot of holes in it. I think Gekiranger handled the story behind the whole Juken and everything a lot better. Like, I think the concept is simple, but it also has a lot of, deep mythology around it. So that's what I liked about Gekiranger. would I have put this in my top 5? No. And I would maybe I would put it in my top 10 just for those selfish style over substance reasons, but not in my top 5. So, I mean, when we have Anthony on next time, we can open up the video by asking him that.
I'm going to, because I want to know.
I mean, I do kind of draw some inspiration. Like the big thing that hit me about this was Rio and Melee. I think Rio and Melee were the big thing that had an impact on me from this Sentai. Like, I actually Rio actually kind of inspired me with like writing the main villain of the current Power Rangers thing I'm posting on fanfiction right now. So Rio and Melee really hit me. I would probably call them like, I don't know. I would probably put Rio. Looking at it back now, I would probably put Rio as like one of my top like 5 favorite Sentai villains, honestly. But
and that's where I'm kind of gravitating as well with my top villain list. Is that Rio is the top contender, and I see that. It's just it's just hard for me at this point to say that Gekiranger is anything sort of mediocre.
Yeah, it's right on that average line for me through 11 episodes.
And I probably expected that. Like, to be honest, like, ironically enough, like with Jungle Fury, I really hate making all these comparisons, but Lily is my favorite Yellow Ranger ever. Casey is in my top 5. Theo is in my top 5. Would I put any of these Geki Rangers in my top? No, I honestly wouldn't.
No.
Maybe I could put Geki Violet. I don't know where I would fit Geki Violet in, but I would probably but other than that, I wouldn't put any of these people on my top. So I completely agree with the idea that the Geki Ranger characters are just, not the most interesting.
Yeah, that and I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I don't think there's really a plot right now either. And it just everything feels flat. And I think you worded it best, style over substance, because I do think the choreography with the actual fights and the mecha fights are better than most seasons around this. But everything else is just blah at best.
Okay, this is a new thing that we're going to have to confirm. We might have to spend like maybe the first 10 minutes of the next podcast asking Anthony why he holds this so high. Because to be honest, I was surprised that he ranked this as like one of his favorites. Like I'd be like, okay, Geki Ranger, really? Like, okay, it's not a bad Sentai. I like it. There's a lot that I got out of it, but it's not even in my top 5, honestly. Like,
I mean, I've talked to some people who look at me that same way when I say Kaku Rangers, like number 3 or something for me. So I guess I understand that.
it's like when somebody tells me that Ninja Storm is their favorite Power Ranger season. Like, okay, I don't hate Ninja Storm. In fact, I might like Ninja Storm more than like some people here in this podcast. But would I call it my favorite Sentai? No. Like, not in a million years would I call that even one of my top 10 favorite Power Ranger seasons.
I mean, Ninja Storm was good, but it's not top 10 good.
Yeah,
not even close.
That's what I think with Geki Ranger. Maybe it's top 10 for me just for selfish style over substance reasons. But if I look at it from like a character standpoint, then no, it doesn't belong in my top 10. Honestly.
And like, sorry, my internet cut off for a second, but yeah, like Patrick said, the plot falls very flat. We're not really. The entire plot's being driven by Ryu and Melee, and that's fine. But I kind of was hoping we'd have some plot developments on the other side as well, but they're just reacting to whatever's going on.
Yeah. But we'll have a lot more to discuss as we go on, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just 11 episodes, so there's a lot.
I do think that a lot of the problems that you've said so far with your early thoughts are problems that I have with the show as a whole.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So,
So
unlike Jetman, where I'm kind of going to be a little bit defensive of it. I mean, I know that this doesn't allow for much like back and forth discussion, but I agree with like 90% of what you're saying. That's the sad thing about this.
yeah, and like the thing I want to mention here is I get style over substance for you, Nate, but I think that's not even a reason to say that this is like anything beyond mediocre Sentai. Because we need substance at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
I know. I mean, I'm not usually suckered in by style over substance.
Yeah.
This was just kind of I don't know. Like, I mean, you
It
and
has
I
a
were
great
both.
mythology, I'll give you that.
Yeah,
They're
I
building a great
think,
mythology.
and I will say this: like, I was watching Barkeep, he Onyx Tavern podcast. He doesn't really do that many videos anymore, but he actually did a video response to Linkara's review on Jungle Fury. He actually says that Gekiranger is his favorite Sentai, and that's because of the mythology and everything. And I think there's more detail. I don't think you can watch the video anymore because I think it got taken down. But I think it was like the mythology surrounding Juken that was the big thing for him. And I'm sympathetic to that, but I mean, honestly, I kind of wish that we could talk to Barkeep because I would want to get his thoughts on the main three Geki Rangers versus the main three Jungle Fury Rangers.
All right, let's go find him.
That'd be
But
great.
I mean, especially we're going to be judging a lot of these teams harshly because we've done a season that I think is going to be the standard for judging Sentai teams a couple of seasons ago in the Shinkenger cast. And
Well, go ahead.
and these guys they're just not even close.
Well, I'm trying to not compare them to Shinkenger.
I try not to do that either, but
And so
in
far I
order
haven't.
well, I mean, it's hard for me not to because in order to explain why I don't like this cast, I have to compare them to what they did wrong in comparison to. That's usually how I explain my reasonings for things.
Yeah.
So it'll just kind of accidentally happen.
Well, see, I'll pull the Shinkenger card for character development when somebody in the podcast tells me this has strong character development. Oh, Jetman. Jetman.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nate.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
No,
As long as you're not gonna talk bad about my boy Guy, then we're good.
No. Guy is nothing good about Jetman, honestly.
And this whole thing about good characters, because we've kind of hit a streak here of 2 Sentai in a row where the characters are kind of there's decent stuff there, but the whole group kind of falters a little bit, and there's kind of one of the reasons why I do hope we get to Mega Ranger at some point, because that's that season's shining star. But that's for another time.
I will say this, Pat.
Yeah.
When we were at this point with Jetman last month, the only character that I had a very negative opinion of was Akko. And that's only because Akko had no development. I had an opinion on Raita. Raita is my boy. Guy is definitely our boy. Ryu was a standard grid, nothing too special to write about, and Kaori was just kind of there to fill the typical feminine, pink, white ranger trope that we need to have. But that assessment is much more favorable than the assessment I'm giving here for Gekiranger cast.
Yeah, but
at least for the heroes. On the villain side, I think they're a little bit comparable with Radagat and Ryu in a way. Like they're
yeah.
both interesting villains that we liked.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, 11 episodes in, I mean. So
Yeah.
I think it says a lot that the 90s Sentai that we were just dogging on for having bad character development did better than the more modern Gekiranger did.
It's mostly because Jetman did a decent job of establishing them. So far, we don't even really know the three too well.
No, we don't. We know the most about Retsu. We know nothing about Ron.
No.
And that's my contention, is that we need to learn more about Ron. We need to learn more about Retsu.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to learn more about John, but I don't think we really want to know more about John.
I'm still raging at the fact that I realized tonight while podcasting with you guys that these episode titles are named after his damn phrases.
And honestly, that's a red flag for me because my fears of this being heavily red-centric is kind of based around the fact that it's almost like he's naming the episodes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like, this guy just... He's one of the worst Reds I've seen so far, man. Like, he's not Takaharu bad. Like, Takaharu was much more annoying, I felt, but this guy is not doing himself any favors either.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna judge him too harshly until we hit the final credits, but the first impression is not good
No,
at
it can
all.
only go up.
It wasn't good with me either.
Yeah.
I didn't like John early on either.
Okay, what about the first time you watched it?
The first time I watched it, that's what I was literally saying. I didn't like him that time
Okay,
either.
okay, got you. Okay.
Like I was 100% just thinking like, I don't know. Even nowadays, I just kind of think like, is it possible we could like do some weird surgery with these seasons? Like we could take the main three Jungle Fury characters and put them into Gekiranger story, because then I would have the perfect Sentai there, since they have the mythology, but they also have really great characters. Is that possible? Could we just like take the main three Jungle Fury characters and just replace them with, and use them to replace Retsu, Ron, and John? Is that
Yes,
possible, people? Can we just do
did
that?
that. It's called Power Rangers Jungle Fury.
Yeah, but Jungle Fury doesn't have the Jungle Fury story has flaws though. Like,
Yeah, I can see that.
But I think good characters can save a season with no plot.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, Jungle Fury's plot wasn't that bad like you're making it out to be.
no, but it was driven by the characters also.
I mean, just like Shinkenger was.
Well, I think Shinkendra's plot more so complemented the character development.
Yeah.
Because
well, I'll go into more detail with my problems with the plot when we do the Jungle Fury thing, which we're going to be posting before this podcast, by the way, guys. But yeah.
Yeah, we still have to go record that.
I'll go into more detail on that later.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hate Jungle Fury's plot. And to be fair, probably the early issues with the plot of Jungle Fury was the fact that Jungle Fury had to deal with the Writers Guild strike early on.
Yep.
So I cut it some slack for that.
I have many thoughts on the Writers Guild strike and where it hurt Jungle Fury the most.
Then we'll talk about
a lot
that.
of it. Yeah, we're gonna have a long discussion on that in our podcast for it.
Do we want to add anything more for Gekiranger though?
No, I've said my piece for the start of this.
Anthony, if you're listening to this, what the hell are you thinking? I need to know.
For the first 5 minutes of our next Gekiranger podcast, we need to get Anthony's takes on this, because like I know that you guys probably thought that I would be here to defend it just as much as Anthony, but I can't because I'm with you guys 100%.
That's why I was okay with Anthony piecing out.
Yeah, I can't be here to defend this because I don't know. Like, I didn't even ask him that. I need to figure that out now.
Yeah.
Just leave him an angry DM so he sees it when he gets up.
Okay, I'll do that.
All caps. What the heck?
Oh, just wait. I got plans now.
But next time, guys, we'll be taking a look at Gekiranger lessons 12 through 21. We're going to be going up to 21 because 19, 20, and 21 are a 3-part episode. So we have to go up to 21 next time. We hope you guys have enjoyed Gekiranger so far. If you guys are big fans of Gekiranger and you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a comment down below. We want to give a big thanks to those who listen to us on iTunes and Spotify. Please check us out at animesecrets.org and check us out on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. Once again, we thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will catch you next time with our next journey as Juken students. But until that time, guys, we'll see you later.